A South Carolina child abuser is going to prison for a long, long time because he tortured his own 3-year-old daughter. This is Nathan Ginter. He was in court on October 22nd when a judge sentenced him to 40 years in prison. Trust me when I tell you, you're going to want to jump through that screen when you hear what this guy did. Listen to this.
He was tasing his 3-year-old child, and it wasn't just once, it was over the course of 3 months.
You heard that right. He was using a stun gun on his own child. It left second-degree burns on the little girl's skin. And yet, somehow, that wasn't even the full extent of all the awful things he was putting her through. Police say he also repeatedly beat the little girl with a piece of bamboo, leaving welts and bruises all over her body. And as if beating her, shocking her, and burning her wasn't enough for this psycho, police say he also forced her to take baths and showers in freezing cold water, sometimes for hours. Anna Browder, the prosecutor you heard from just a minute ago, she called it a form of waterboarding, what he was doing to the child, putting her in the bath and the shower. Now, I don't know if it's the same sort of torture that prisoners at Guantanamo Bay were subjected to, but when we're talking about a 3-year-old, what's the difference? Browder said the abuse started back in 2022 as quote-unquote punishment for things as trivial as the child not eating her vegetables. A reminder, she was 3 years old. If you're holding your breath for me to share any redeeming qualities about Nathan Ginter, don't bother. One of the worst parts of this story is that after police had been called and the children were taken out of the home, he went and searched on his phone for ways to continue physically abusing the child that wouldn't leave marks or physical evidence behind.
He was trying to find ways that if he got off and he was not arrested, that he could continue to torture her.
What a piece of shit, seriously. What's worse is he's shown no remorse for any of this. When the judge gave him a chance to speak in court, all he did was complain about his attorney.
And I do not feel that I was adequately represented.
Okay, thank you very much.
If you're wondering where the child's mother was during all of this, she was there, and now she's in prison too. This is Tiffany Britton. She's currently serving a 10-year sentence in a South Carolina prison after pleading guilty to 4 counts of child neglect related to this case. If there's any silver lining to this story, it's that family members were not afraid to speak up when they found out what was going on. As soon as they saw signs of abuse, they called the police and they put a stop to it. They got that little girl out of that house along with her older sibling and got them out of danger before it was too late.
I do want him to know that he did not break her. In fact, she is thriving. She is kind and sweet and loving, and not because of what he did, but because of me and my husband.
His other daughter is not broken either. She is recovering, but it's a long road. There are lasting effects to his actions that will likely never completely go away for either of these young girls.
A wild subplot to this story is that Nathan Ginter was actually convicted of his crimes back in June 2024, but he's only just now being sentenced. That's because when the guilty verdicts were read at his trial, he was nowhere to be found. See, Ginter was let out of jail on bond before his trial, and when the time came to face the music, he skipped town with his new girlfriend. Police eventually found them hiding out in Kentucky. They caused a manhunt that went on for days, and even forced police to put a whole town under lockdown. But now, Nathan Ginter is the one under lockdown, and 40 years doesn't feel like long enough.